Pro is going to make that resurgence, but they belong in that discussion. Hell's Heaven going to be the first map of this best of 3.
We are heading in. Brbrpatapim, they are one of the teams who would definitely rather let through EMEA than the Magneto, so that will be a big focus for both teams here. We've also seen Brr batting a little bit differently. They would rather let through EMEA to ban strategists, and they would rather protect Captain America late, and if they could get their hands on Magneto, they have always gone for it, much like a lot of the other teams.
Now, Zero Tenacity have been one of the early proprietors, I think, towards that triple strategist lineup too, and definitely opening the roles in between one another. The Captain America, the first actual lock-in for Brbrpatapim is interesting because, yeah, you have like Polly, you have like, I think Enzo could pick it up if he needs to in a dash, but it's the fact that like the Emma Frost is going to be taken out here alongside the Magneto, and then the Human Torch is banned out. Brbrpatapim going off the beaten path, it seems like, when it comes to what we expect from a draft.
This means we may be seeing a different front line for Brbrpatapim, as so far Enzo has mostly played Magneto and Hulk in this tournament, a little bit more flexible here. So with Cap already being put on the board for them and getting their Human Torch for Tanuki, Brbrpatapim are getting a lot of the stuff that they would normally like at the cost of Zero Tenacity dominating the draft when it comes to the usual suspect bans, going for a more standard pick and draft phase and getting their hands on the Lunar Snow that is allowed through thanks to Brbrpatapim prioritizing their own picks.
Loki hasn't been banned out actually on the side.
Oh, you're right.
So, actually are able to grab both of them potentially, right? So it's...
Pick your hero.
This is really interesting because it does feel a bit of a passive. Everybody else is sort of going for the meta. Zero Tenacity, okay, this is what Rad and Verse Pro were doing. Let's see if we can sort of take something similar. Brbrpatapim are like, huh, what? Like, we're doing our own thing. And it's whether that own thing is going to be actually good enough to beat a Zero Tenacity team like this.
Very interesting. We're going to be seeing Zero Tenacity looking at this classic version of the Guardians composition with Luna, along with that Mantis and, of course, the Mantis and the Adam Warlock there. On the other side, we're just seeing a lot of stuff that Brbrpatapim like to play, but currently hovering on the Wolverine. We'll see if that makes it out of Spawn compared to that Human Torch or Tanuki on the Psylocke, because currently that has been picked up by Pokey.
I love that you said just like they're on a lot of stuff. It's like that's pretty much the only way that you can sum up what Brbrpatapim's going to do, because it's just a bit like they seem a little bit like we'll work it out. But here, I think it's fair to say, Tetcher, that like Brbrpatapim are the favorites. Just the history, the results that they've had. You would expect them to be coming out of this group as the top team. Maybe we'd expect to see these teams in the grand finals of their group over on Sunday. But Zero Tenacity, they've done a really good job at shutting people like me up and really breaking a lot of pick'ems. Here would be a great start to really turn some heads.
Brbrpatapim have basically got almost all of their preferences here. We look at what they've been wanting to play. Pokey on their Psylocke. We see Tanuki on that Torch. Polly's on the Captain America. Zero Tenacity. If they win this, they have shown that they deserve it. And they are bringing in more interesting composition, realizing they're going to go up against this Cap and this Psylocke. They have brought the thing to try and lock them down and stop these hypermobile characters from moving as much.
I mean, he's a very good character. What he does is just so many people seem to move away from him after the Invitational. So he's going to take a bit of a slog, but that seems to just suit him just fine. And he keeps adding to my list of favorite players to watch because of stuff like this. You do also have like some more support help with the triple strategist lineup. So you've got the real sustenance to keep yourself going. But it's not going to stop Tanuki finding that first pick over onto Lugia just as the Soul Resurgence comes in from Oasis. It's not going to matter. Ken actually decides to switch over and just left click down on the cloak to cut things through. And Brbrpatapim, been a bit more of a grueling fight. It's taken a good amount of time. They managed to get the reset over onto Zero Tenacity and the point first.
they actually managed to get a final hit with the Terror Cape. Not the damage boost from it, the actual cape itself, the 55 damage cape. They were able to land a final hit with it. As such, a long first fight, but Brbrpatapim, on all of their favorites, are able to take early control.
Let's see what happens with this thing dedication. Clobbering time close. I mean, yeah, definitely if you're Pokey, he's had to pull out the Dancing Butterfly. Look at his HP. He is pretty much on a pixel, a sliver of health, and Tanuki uses that as a chance of a counterattack. It's almost like Zero Tenacity got pulled into the fight to hunt down Pokey as he escapes, and it opens up the door for Tanuki to set the kitchen right on fire.
What a stagger we're about to see, Mantis. They're literally just keeping them here for as long as possible to go for the stacks. They know that the cocoon is not back. That's so much time burned by Brbrpatapim. They are playing for keeps here.
At the very least for Z10, you have got some really nice ultimates available. You've got Soul Resurgence on in a second, but 4 others good to go. Hammer Revival available for Knuten, but he also wants to be the main thing that's getting this burst damage in, and finally picks up Brbrpatapim, and I feel like they haven't really gone down all that much in these engagements. They've just been too long, they've been too frustrating, and you do have like the Eternal Bonds ready to go. Alex is going to be the one that starts it up first. Ken has got the copy available with his ultimate. It's just waiting for probably to grab another Cloak and Dagger to get the Eternal Bond up yet again. This Galactic Legend from Smashness not finding any real discernible damage, and Enzo's actually the one that gets caught out. The Psionic Seduction pulling him out into the open to just be focused in down. Polly running in onto the site, brawling as much as he can, forward, backwards, trying to see what direction this fight wants to be taken in for Brbrpatapim, as they've made the point at least to a 99% progression. They're finding that first elimination there too, but there's people being brought back. Knuten actually goes down. The Camera Revival was available, but it's just too awkward of an engagement. Brbrpatapim diving in, poking and prodding with Pokey, makes this a very clean 100% to 0.
And this is what happens when you let Brbrpatapim play exactly what they want. And we do see Zero Tenacity starting to struggle at this early stage, bringing out this Star-Lord composition, trying the thing, believing they can protect their backline most effectively. But Tanuki has been playing this for months now. Since that Johnny Storm, that Human Torch has been released, they have been rolling it and doing so much work. And as such, even though we did see the attempt from Smashness to try and track them down with that Star-Lord to try and win the duels, which Star-Lord is so good at, it's always the movement from Tanuki that keeps them up and keeps them in a protected position. Only 4 final hits onto the members of Brbrpatapim, and they are on Enzo, who's of course in the front line, and Tanuki, who is going to be your target, but that is still not a lot in the grand scheme of things. Under half the amount that Brbrpatapim have been able to achieve.
Strategists surviving. That Alex-Ken combination has been super strong and super fun to watch in all of the tournaments that they've played, but now that there's a lot less Luna and Loki on the table, we haven't really got to see Ken on Loki for quite some time, it feels like. So he has the freedom, obviously, to put a lot of pressure into saving it early on in the draft. Oh, actually, no, it was like completely open. It wasn't even saved. It was just not a priority for Zero Tenacity to take it off the board. That could maybe bite them in the backside if they're not careful. The Soul Resurgence found for Oasis. You have got the Camera Revival. Smashness has gone down. Newton's going to bring it down now. Seeing if Luigi is actually going to move over to the Wolverine, so some of these Resurrects are going to keep this fight going for Zero Tenacity. But that is a superb Eye of Agamotto from Enzo. It catches onto 4, but a Karmic Revival, even just the combinations actually that are coming from the team up, are just bringing back these Guardians into this engagement. Knuten back twice after going down twice, finds a pick to make this a bit more of a slog. And Brbrpatapim forced to make this a little bit more grueling. They do have the copy coming in from the God of Mischief from Ken. They also have that Freedom Charge to sit on. I don't think it's going to be needed here, Tetcher. They managed to grab.
Zero Tenacity zoned away. They went back to the well of solo Vanguard, but this time with triple strategists as opposed to the double that they've been running previously. Tanuki even snipes Oasis once again, creating quite the stagger. And Zero Tenacity, when you're getting staggered to this degree, it might be time to swap up the composition, because if your opponent can control your spawn this much, then you need to change something up. They brought out that Wolverine to try and change this, but they can't make the win. They normally would be picking up the Human Torch to try and add that third duelist here, but it was banned out because Brbrpatapim came prepared.
And so the butterflies for Pokey. Seeing if he could just cut somebody away. Obviously that damage is going to be spread out if he gets multiple targets, so he's trying to catch people right on the radius. You like this aggression that's coming in from Smash Nez, and it's really making Brbrpatapim have to readjust where they're playing from. A last stand was used from Lugia, but Tanuki's not going to let him go out without a fight. There's a Dance of the Butterfly finding the backline. That duo that hasn't died at all so far, I think, this map. Trying to get taken out together. That might be enough space for Zero Tenacity to work with, but Pokey's got something to say about that too. He takes out Knut and has the Kamek revival again. Brbrpatapim just finding the right targets at the right time.
Zero Tenacity are winning this fight, but like you said, Brbrpatapim are picking off people to the point where they're delaying this for so long. All that delay that we saw from Polly has allowed Ken to respawn, get an ultimate off, and keep the team topped up as the second Eternal Bond comes in. Two in the same fight as they push on in. Terra came to drop some extra damage, allowing for Supernova right in the doorway to take down Ducky. And Zero Tenacity are starting to run low. Kamek revival is going to be coming back to give them that extra reinforcement. Smashness is revived and immediately picked off for a second time.
Oh my god. It's just right on top of the Kamek revival. You come back in, it's from the frying pan into the fire, quite literally from Tanuki. It's every time that Zero Tenacity look like they're going to have a bit of a response, he shuts them down, puts out that flame, and Brbrpatapim are 2-0. I don't think Zero Tenacity able to get much on the board, if at all. A map down very early on in this upper bracket final.
This is why you see the ban against the Captain America. Keeping control of the board, delaying for as long as possible, and very few people have been playing it for as long or as effectively as Polly. Polly believed in this even when a lot of other teams didn't, and they delayed. Only getting taken down once, getting 6 final hits, 18 total KOs, 9k damage more than Lugia, only 5k less than Smash. They had so much control of delaying and pressuring that backline to give all the freedom over to Tanuki, who just got multi-kill after multi-kill, while Pokey picks up any scraps.
Overlooked, it feels like, for Human Torch in some elements. It's not even really the meta, like the nerfs that came in, yeah, gonna just take away at him for the most part. And a character that was always the first ban on either side when we saw teams initially trying out this advanced pick and ban system in third-party tournaments really has changed an awful lot, and Tanuki just sort of showing that maybe we should move back in that direction to an extent, because he can't be getting away with this.
We saw a lot of people, like you said, move off of the Human Torch when the patch came out, especially in those open qualifiers, and then immediately swap back to it as the teams are starting to show that, yeah, Johnny Storm's still really good. You have a character who has damage over time with those extra flame shots. You have a character with burst damage, with that shotgun-like attack, and the flaming meteor, which also has crowd control, and gives him bonus health, and he has one of the highest damage ultimates in the game with the Supernova, and he flies. What can this character not do?
I mean, what can Tanuki not do? It doesn't seem to really matter what character that he's playing on, but if you give LeBron the ball, he's going to score. I feel like, I mean, my head is shining like a basketball at this rate just from this, but there's still a bit more action at least to come at this rate. Zero Tenacity have a chance to bounce back in this best of 3, make their way into the upper grand final for their group, but we do have a break very shortly, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a couple.
Brbrpatapim have been playing so well right now. They put win into the model and it spat out this team. They are dominating so far against Zero Tenacity.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's been more one-sided towards them than I expected. Like, maybe it's just me putting a little bit too much, not too much stock onto Z10, because that sounds like they can't do the damage, but more so that, like, this Brbrpatapim team is a sort of a league ahead. Like, it's been somewhat of a disappointment that they are in separate groups to Rad and Virtus Pro, but also exciting that in the end that, like, we keep them separate, that we get to go into that playoffs and really mix things up to see who are going to be like the top 3 finishers for EMEA, who's obviously going to come out on top in first place, but ultimately whether people's tier lists of teams are going to be accurate or not, because right now it's been so hard to juggle what teams are sort of feeling currently.
And at this point, I really do feel strongly that Zero Tenacity need to pull a low 9 and just start banning targeted. Yeah, your opponents are gonna get Luna. Yeah, they're gonna get a lot of this more powerful stuff, and maybe even the Loki again. But that Cap, that Psylocke, that Torch, it's just so hard to deal with. And surely it might be worth taking away at least 1 or 2 of them.
Araco is actually where Zero Tenacity are going to take us, which we have seen from them a little bit. I think teams picking into them this map. But there was a couple of really nice ideas from Knuten, certainly with like using the right click from Punisher as a boost to jump on top of the actual payload, the big Giga Groot himself, and set up a turret right on top of his noggin whilst it's moving along. And then just all of these different positions that you can play from. So there's some really cute tech to keep an eye out for with Zero Tenacity over on Araco, the latest map added into the pool. Brbrpatapim, we've seen them play it, third-party tournaments yet again, but the meta is a little bit different now than it was back then.
We are going to be seeing once again so far Brbrpatapim getting their choices. Also, the team's helping us with our pushing off the Twitch drops today. Several magics being shown on Zero Tenacity. I don't think that'll make it out, but you can still rock that new magic Will of Galacta costume just by watching the Marvel Rivals Ignite games for all these regions and for selected other streams. So you are already winning just by watching, and while we may not see the magic, you can see it in your games. As again, Brbrpatapim, they're gonna get the Psylocke as well. Zero Tenacity have not adjusted their ban strats other than taking out Loki this time.
Yeah, it really feels a Brbrpatapim not afraid to really make it quite simple for themselves. Just giving the likes of Polly over to Captain America, giving Tanuki to Psylocke. It's not really going to matter too much what the rest of the team goes to an extent. But it was, you know, when we sort of saw that Dance of the Butterflies come out from, it would have been Schmasnes, and it catches Alex and Ken. That was the only eliminations they had against them that entire map. It was just a double K with the Dance of the Butterflies. Alex and Ken have just been such a difficult combo to uproot. The way that they play off of each other, the way that they play off some of these old OG core members like Enzo and Tanuki. It's the fact that Polly and Pokey have slotted in so nicely for the squad that makes them so scary in the first place. But it does mean that we do get Brbrpatapim having a Captain America on their side, and as the last ban, they've denied it from Z10.
That is so smart. We did, for starters, thank you Zero Tenacity for banning out that Human Torch, or at least targeting one of these options, and Tanuki is currently hovering Iron Fist. Don't know if that will make it out of base. But what we did see is them get their hands on that Lunar Snow, because it was let through. Brbrpatapim were focusing more on banning out the standards and picking what they like. So they had the Lunar Snow. That puts the risk of the Psylocke Captain America backline dive combo significantly higher. Now, while Venom can still replace it, the Captain America is the go-to when it comes to EMEA for this rush the backline and try and pick people up strategy, and it works so much better if you have that snowflake on the Psylocke to try and burst them down. They're still going to allow it, but without that distraction and that setup that the Cap offers.
Seeing a lot of shots from Araco, certainly towards the end of this map. You have to move this old guy around. Z10 wanting to put a turret on top of that as well. If Knuten's going to go in that direction, he's actually going to be on the Iron Man, which we did see quite a lot on Yggdrasil's path. Same sort of game mode. Plenty of advantages for that. And is it the triple DPS, the triple duelist that they've been working towards that they're opting into? Certainly looks like it's Lucius over on the Wolverine again.
They also got their Human Torch banned away, so they have decided that Iron Man is the replacement for that, while the Wolverine and sometimes the Magneto, sometimes the Emma, they've run both, are causing distractions on the low ground. The aerial flyers with this Ultron, with this, in this case, one of the first Iron Mans we have seen, Newton bringing it back again. They're going to try and siege from above. However, they are getting, once again, we mentioned it before, harassed on the backline as Pokey and Polly are consistently applying pressure, and Tanuki has come to join them on the Star-Lord.
Often overlooked as an option for one of the flyers, Storm and Human Torch especially taking the majority of the playtime. And Tanuki now over on the Star-Lord, taking a lot of fire and being pulled off of the map. Lugia actually eliminated just as he was about to throw them into the abyss. Means that they actually don't go down at all. Knutson forced to fly back, reset, lick his wounds a little bit. And Pokey just carving on through, building up to 3% away from a Dance of the Butterflies.
Brbrpatapim holding at 58 meters. Half a running track so far is what that Groot has been able to make. Zero Tenacity, they're sticking with the same strat, rolling out. They have that invincible pulse cannon at the ready, but Pokey has been so aggressive on the flank. Here comes Wolverine, has to back out, and they're very nearly getting caught out of position. And we'll use that Emma Frost team up to create a little clone for at least some damage mitigation.
This the longest day of the year tomorrow, but these have all been pretty short series so far. All 2-0s. Zero Tenacity not really building enough confidence that we might change things here, as already half the time that they've been given, they've been allocated, has dwindled. The positive side is you have 4 ultimates, you almost have all 6. The negative, Brbrpatapim almost have all 6 too.
Unibebe doing good damage. You can't block you can't deflect lasers, but you can block them. Cap trying to hold some time, and Pokey is on the flank. We will see Polly actually getting taken out. Lugia showing the power of this extra Wolverine instead of the second Vanguard with just lockdown potential. But you can't lock down that diamond form Emma Frost, but it will expire. Blast the Barrage. Fate of both worlds from the Lunar Snow that was allowed through, immediately being matched by the Eternal Bond to try and turn this round side in seduction. But the healing output is so good from Brbrpatapim. They're not able to turn this round, but the second those big strategist ultimates have expired, it's time for Zero Tenacity to hit the go button. Rage of Ultron to start up. They want to force out this invisible boundary from Ken to open up. Invisible Pulse cannon round the corner, but it's blocked off.
Brbrpatapim not had to use anything really. They've held on to pretty much everything other that Eternal Bond that comes through. Zero Tenacity wanted to use it on the attack. Now that they've got some momentum, Tanuki is the one to silence things potentially. There's Polly coming in with a freedom charge. You've got the Dance of the Butterflies from Pokey alongside trying to catch Zero Tenacity as they're disengaging from this fight. Polly and Pokey, the 2 new additions to the squad of Brbrpatapim, comboing perfectly to keep these resets labored, and there's only 35 seconds left for Z10.
They've almost made it towards point number 1, trying to roll in. Knutson swapping off of the Iron Man has brought out the Winter Soldier to try and lock down the Cap, to try and snipe Tanuki out of the air, to try and stop Pokey from getting away after they've set themselves up. One Bionic Hook or Soldier's Fist could be game-changing, but no ultimate. There won't be one for a while. Sonic Seduction from Enzo to try and set up with 10 seconds remaining if they can get some pickups early. Oh, especially onto Lugia, dropping them low off the side to try and take some cover. Lockdown. Oasis will be the one to fall. Lugia picked up on the flank as Tanuki is living up to the legend, the galactic legend, as they clean on up. No one's up here, no one's spawning, and that will be a hold very short here by the side of Brbrpatapim. That is going to be one that is very doable to push in.
Yeah, confident hold, I think, for Brbrpatapim. So, like, going into this attacking side, it's really up to Zero Tenacity to have one of the strongest holds that we've seen on this map thus far. It's possible, but it's what adjustments you want to be making. Seeing the likes of the Namor picked up by Smash Nez, potentially. I'm also curious for Brbrpatapim if they're going to change up anything at all. Tanuki having the Human Torch non-available for him seems to have not made any difference. But even like the Psylocke for Pokey, he might go over towards the Storm from the looks.
They might be expecting a spawn hold, in which case the Storm and the Squirrel Girl and Moon Knight are the big breakers of these main setups. But the fact is, Tanuki They were one of the most legendary Jeff players, along with Jerky, when it came to wrapping around and trying to get people with this old style of Jeff. This is the new Jeff. Tanuki was insane on the old style. It's one of our first times seeing him on this new style, and they are committing to it with the extra support. They have Enzo currently on the Punisher. They are running a solo Vanguard of their own.
I believe it's just one elimination for Brbrpatapim that they've had against him. In defense of all things too. Tenacity struggling to put the resources in the right place. Now Brbrpatapim, Oki over on the Storm. Oh, actually, yeah, like Mashnez having to back out a little bit more. These squids being broken apart to an extent. Tanuki over on this Jeff, just allowing that pressure to keep things really up into their favor. Getting past this bridge this quickly has to be concerning for Z10.
Keep an eye on Pokey. If they get hit by that force fit, by that extra lockdown from the Psionic Vortex, or by that tainted voltage of Knuten, this is when you'll see the opening. This Jeff continuing to keep the team topped up. The healing output from New Jeff is extremely effective here. Polly finds Ducky and Oasis. The card is moving forward. That's gonna be a Terracate to try and burst through Polly, but with that Mind's Aegis, they survive a little bit longer, but will get taken out by Knuten, who finds the double. They're capitalizing. Smashnez has not been targeted at all here and is getting some great damage on this backline.
And so, still dedicating over to the Punisher. Controller player, by the way. I mean, if you're running close proximity with the shotgun, it's not going to matter too much what your peripherals are. Now, what, there's like 20 meters left to travel, and you're looking at some of the push power. There's Soul Resurgence over for Ken, but also this Omega Hurricane for Pokey. The final judgment's going to be used first, actually. I thought that might have been held on to for a little bit more, but he's still able to get the picks. Enzo, we've highlighted the likes of Tanuki. Well, he's brought out the Hurricane, but it's a Horn of Proteus that sends them both back into spawn.
Smashnez may have just saved their team this game with that Horn of Proteus. The Namor trying to deal with the Emma, who's the only one left on the point. With 2 minutes to go, Zero Tenacity hold. It's 6 meters between Brbrpatapim and those grand finals. But Zero Tenacity, while they have been struggling, they will not go quietly. They are giving everything to try and hold this and take us to a map number 3.
Yeah, Oasis getting a little bit of the love there too from the damage boost from the Fate of Both Worlds. What it means, but that big support ultimate that you have isn't available, nor is the Soul Bond from Whiny. Sorry, the Eternal Bond. Whereas on the side of Brbrpatapim, you have an invisible boundary, so you can really dictate where this fight is going from. Lucia over on Hulk looking to try and brawl a little bit more. Just have the ultimate to just survive if this engagement gets a little bit delayed. Tanuki actually pulling out this fight a little bit deeper, and Enzo switching over towards the Emma Frost, caught out by the Hulk. And it's looking like this is going to be a bit of an awkward reset from Brbrpatapim. It's a bit of a mixed numbers. Never mind, actually, Polly, Pokey, and Ken finding picks as we're sort of seeing on the right-hand side. Might have enough about them, but they have to reclaim this payload and move things along again.
Lugi is going to delay, buy as much time as they can. Enzo coming in with the portal to try and make sure that they can reinforce and get onto this finish line. Here comes the Captain America with the Freedom Charge to give them a little bit of extra bonus health for some healing and try and rush onto these strategists. They come in for the reinforcement. So much pressure. The point is right there. Portals from both sides. Monster Hulk with Hulk Smash. Tanuki trying to avoid it, but Smashnez is continuing to be the saving grace for this side on this Namor exactly when it's needed. But Dance of the Butterflies is cleaning up. They finally find the wraparound, trying to get onto Smashnez, taking him down, and that is GG with 20 seconds remaining. Brbrpatapim clean on up for this first push. They are going to take the round, and they will be moving on to the grand finals of their group.
It's been utter statements from them and Rad. Clean as you like, getting up to the grand finals of their respective groups. Brbrpatapim really just proving that they deserve to be in the discussion. And it's an overall team performance, and this team is so comfortable with one another, they're able to blur the lines between the roles that they're playing, right? We saw Enzo for the majority of that playing over on the Punisher, and honestly being enough of a threat to be reckoned with. Zero Tenacity didn't really have too much of a go in. I think the strategist backline has died a total of twice across 2 maps. that goes to show how robust this team is for Brbrpatapim and how they have everything they need to genuinely go on and win EMEA Ignite.
Alex, Ken, and Enzo just seem to play incredibly well. In this case, running the blonde party together, just completely dominating with Tanuki bouncing in and out to make sure they're supported. When they're on the Human Torch, they were sieging to make sure that anyone who dived onto their backline was punished. In this case, on that Star-Lord. While they did struggle a little bit, tried to run that Storm composition, realized it wasn't really giving them the ability they want. They went for a Jeff Nado, but Aquatic Blessing, a couple squids, and they were able to hold Zero Tenacity, showing another interesting comp, bringing out the Gamma, but it wasn't enough to hold Brbrpatapim on most of their favorites again.
Now it's made things a little bit more interesting, I think. You know, Zero Tenacity down to the losers bracket, so we'll see them playing again tomorrow. We know that is not going to be the end of them, and they're going to be in playoffs next week for certain. But seeding is going to start to become a little bit more important. You've got Insomnia having to go up against Virtus Pro, but against All Business, team that we just saw. Honestly, my brain is melting at this rate. That's genuinely like a really good best of five. Now that we move into the best of fives, it isn't just a momentum of winning that random domination game and then hoping to sort of get on something that you're comfortable with. You have to get some things going, and then you get the chance of domination reappearing in the draft once we get to map 4.
Zero Tenacity did, of course, win against All Business in their first meetup, but it was a 2-0 and a 2-1, so we do know that All Business have the capability to try and turn this round and try and bring it back. And again, all these teams already in the playoffs. This is for seeding, and this seeding is really important because we just saw how solid Rad were. We just saw how incredible Brbrpatapim is, and Virtus Pro back on the rise again, taking their map as well. Suddenly, higher seeding is so important because it means you go longer avoiding these top teams.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you're going to have to run into them. And I think when teams start thinking too much about where they want to be sort of put in a playoffs bracket like this, at the end of the day, if you want to be the top team, you have to be able to beat everybody. And it does feel like everybody at the moment is beatable. Brbrpatapim, I mean, there's only been one team that's been causing you consistent issues, and they've also got their own issues that they're dealing with currently over in a completely different bracket so far. But we do have an interview with one of the newer additions to this Brbrpatapim team. We're going to bring out the Captain America Extraordinaire Polly. First and foremost,
hello.
Was that like a business as usual kind of series for you guys? Like, it felt incredibly clean, and you were sort of going against what a lot of people were doing in drafts, right? Like, it was a little bit different to what we've seen.
Yeah. As for the game, it's really just me and my cousin Pokey cooking in the backline, and as for the end of the round, we tried some new things in attack. We tried some kind of attack rollout or something. Tried to make it a bit more interesting for you guys. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So how does the coordination work when you have what is essentially two almost separate arms to the team? Like you say, you and your cousin diving into the back line and then the rest of the group trying to hold back their front line. How does the coordination work and communication work between the two sides?
As for diving, it's mainly me coming whenever I go on the back line. And sometimes I ask for confirmation if Pokey can join me, and if not, I just go on my own. So it's sort of like me diving the backline and then my team pushing up, and just having that constant pressure like all the time. That's sort of our style, you know.
You taught me for a little bit of the Captain America, I think, because like we've seen so much of the focus going in onto Emma Frost, Magneto. You guys are actually like first saving Captain America. For those that aren't really following aren't in the scrims themselves, what is it about Captain America that makes him so strong right now that he's like genuinely a good pick alongside the Magneto and the Emma Frost?
His kit is just really good. His survivability is just insane, but the most insane about his kit is his ult. It's basically another support ult for your team to use, so it's really only that.
So I want to ask something that we've been seeing a couple teams where we would normally traditionally, at least in EMEA, see the Captain America starting to move over to the Venom. What is your thoughts of those two in comparison? Where does one fit in and where would the other fit in?
Well, about Venom?
We've been seeing a lot of teams who use the Venom as the second dive instead of the Captain America. Like, where do you feel that would take the advantage over Cap, or do you believe that Cap should be the dominant pick each time?
I do think Cap should be the dominant tank diver, but Venom is also a good pick, especially with like a damage boost. He has like a one-shot combo, but for me at least, whenever Cap is banned, Venom is always an option for me.
We had Enzo in an interview last week say that he wants to be the team that first beats Virtus Pro. You guys have been the closest up to Rad did last week. Has that result, despite it being in a different group, has that almost like infected you guys a little bit, or has it affected you at all? Are you a little bit more like, okay, we're playing really well, the top team that was undefeated has now lost, this is a perfect tournament for us? Or are you just sort of almost approaching it game by game, just to make sure that you're focusing on your own performances, not too much about the other teams that you might be competing with?
I think at first we reacted, we were kind of shocked that Virtus Pro lost, but we then realized that this might be good for us, because we don't really see Rad as a threat, so it was kind of like surprising that they beat VP, because we thought like VP was the best team in Europe, which they are. So yeah, I think we're taking this really good.
So where you guys currently are, you're in this upper bracket, you're in the grand finals of your group. This means you're likely going to be playing against one of the teams that lost today. Do you have a preference between Low 9 and Team Peps?
I'd like to face L9, that's all I'm saying. Kind of because they're like my friends and I really like them, so yeah.
Are there any teams that now that we have our top 8, like, yeah, we're sort of looking into seeding now, we sort of expect you, Virtus Pro, Rad as well to be up there. Are there any teams in this top 8 like Low 9 that you think people are underestimating? Even Zero Tenacity felt a little bit underestimated, but they didn't really have much of a show in this game, it felt like. That's stuff that made them really excited to watch. You kind of dealt with it very cleanly.
I think a team that really stood out for me was All Business. I didn't really expect them to do this well, but it's good to see them do well. Is the next match All Business versus L9, or did I miss out?
That's already happened. It was All
that's already
2-0 versus...
Yeah, as expected, really. I think All Business has stood up.
I mean, they play up against Zero Tenacity tomorrow, so is there a team that you think could win out of those two?
Is it Z10 versus...
All Business, yeah.
I think it might be close, but in the end, I think Z10 will take the win, honestly. But I think it will be close.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, Polly. We'll let you go celebrate with your team and get prepared for what is that grand final and the playoffs that are coming up.
Thank you.